In your notebook, write today's date, 9.7, factor perfect square polynomials. This is actually an interesting chapter and interesting lesson, and you will also like this. So copy this down. This is a formula that I need you to remember. So the difference of two squares, a squared minus b squared equals a plus b, a minus b. So memorize this formula. A squared minus b squared equals a plus b, a minus b, and also make sure that you're writing this down. Now copy question number 5. So you get 81c squared minus 4. So write this down. So you get a squared minus b squared equals a plus b, a minus b. So once you recognize that this question looks similar to a squared minus b squared, your answer obviously is going to look something similar to a plus b and a minus b. One of them is going to be a plus, one of them is going to be a minus. So if you remember this little tip, you will be able to answer a few questions in your EOC and narrow down your choices. So the first thing you got to recognize is this looks similar to 81c squared minus 4. So the first thing you have to understand is this is b squared, that's a 4. A squared is a whole entire thing. So I'm going to break it apart as 81c squared. I'm going to write this to be as 9c the whole squared. So watch what happens. So 9c the whole squared, if I give the 2 to both of them, that becomes 9 squared and c squared. 9 squared is 9 times 9, which is 81c squared, which is what I have. So I am working it in reverse. So 81c squared is nothing but 9c the whole squared minus 4, I'm going to break it apart as 2 squared. So once you're comfortable breaking the numbers and making it fit the way that you want to see it fit, so this becomes your a squared minus b squared formula. So that is what it looks similar to. So if you recognize, I'm going to highlight and show you, your a is nothing but this and your b is nothing but this. Watch the similarities. So this is a squared minus b squared. So which is the same thing. So your answer should look like a plus b, a minus b. So which basically means 9c plus 2 and 9c minus 2 will be the answer. Now, if you were to take this answer and use the table method or the FOIL method and solve it, you're going to get back the question, which is this. Copy question number 7. Now, this question, on the other hand, you have a 3 and a 48. So 3 and 48, they both can be divided by 3. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out the common terms. So I'm going to pull out a minus sign. So it's done. And I'm going to pull out a 3, which is also done. So the rest goes inside. So in the first term, m squared is still there. And minus will give you back my plus. So this is done. So now I need my plus back. So negative and negative gives you back the plus. And 48. So 3 times what is going to give you a 48, which will be 16. So this is done. And n squared, I'm just going to write it as it is. So pulling out the greatest common factor will be the first step. So once you pull out the common factor, the remaining goes here. So now negative 3. Now if you look at m squared minus 16n squared, I'm going to rewrite this to be as m squared minus 4n the whole squared. Parentheses are real important because the 2 applies to the 4, the 2 applies to the n. So 4n the whole squared, if I give the 4 the squared and the n the squared, that becomes 16n squared, which is this. So I really did not change anything except the way it looks. So now this looks similar to a squared minus b squared, which will be a plus b, open close parenthesis, open close on a minus b. So if you look at the highlighted one, your a is actually your m and your b is actually a 4n. Once you recognize the similarities, minus 3, there is nothing I can do about it. So this one is a squared minus b squared. So it's going to be m plus 4n, open close, m minus 4n, open close. And this will be the answer. Copy question number 14. 14 is actually an easy question. The first step you need to recognize is always see if there is anything common you can pull out. See if there is any greatest common factor that you can pull out. So in this case, you have a 2, 12, and 18. 2, 12, 18. All three of them can be divided by 2. So 2 is the factor that I'm going to pull out. So which gives you the rest. X squared plus 2 times 6 will give me back my 12. X, y, which is done, plus is done. 2 times 9 is going to give me my 18 and y squared, which is done. So now once I get to this step, now all I have to do is look at the 1 inside the parentheses. So the leading coefficient in this case is a 1. So if the leading coefficient is a 1, use the x method to factor this polynomial. So I'm going to use the x method. So I'm going to write add, multiply. I'm going to put the 6 and I'm going to put the 9. So you're thinking 9, I can get it from 3 times 3. 3 plus 3 gives you a 6, so it works. So I'm going to rewrite this to be as 2 on the outside still stays the same. So I'm going to get so this is going to be x plus 3. And since there is a y squared, I'm going to write it as y and x plus 3y. This I'm getting it from here. Plus 3. So this will be a plus 3. Plus 3, just attach the variable to it to finish the factors. The only condition is there is also a y squared at the end, so the second term also gets a y. And this will be the answer. Now copy question number 20. So the first condition you have to think is there any factor that you can pull out? So I'm looking at 45, 120, 80, and I'm thinking what number can go into all three of them? The answer will be 5. So I'm pulling out a common factor, which is a 5. The remaining goes inside. So I need to get 45 back, so there will be a 9. The variables I'm going to rewrite as it is, minus, and 5 goes into 120, 24 times, RS, they all stay the same, plus 5 goes into an 80, 16 times, S squared. So once you get this step, now you need to factor the polynomial. You need to simplify it all the way through. So factoring the polynomial in this case is the leading coefficient is not a 1. So since the leading coefficient I'm going to highlight and show you is not a 1, you got to use the umbrella and the box method. It's basically the umbrella, the box, and the X method combination. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write the box to begin with. So I'm going to highlight and show you and help you remember the box method also. So 9 and 16, I'm going to fill it up diagonally going down. And I'm going to go back for my X. So the middle number minus 24 goes here, highlighting to show you. So the middle number negative 24 goes inside and the bottom number multiply, and this is your umbrella method. So 9 times 16 you multiply to get 144. So 144 you can get it from 12 times 12. So 12 multiplied by 12 gives you 144, but you need negative 24 when you add them. So negative 12 multiplied by negative 12 gives you positive 144. Negative 12 when you add the negative 12 gives you negative 24. So which works out. So now the last step is look at the one in blue. So this negative 12 and this negative 12, you're going to use it to fill up the boxes. So now we're thinking, going across, 9 and 12, they both can be divided by 3. So 3 times 3 is 9 and minus 4. And 3 times negative 4 gives you this. So I'm going to look at the variable. In this case, it's going to be r. So the first one gets an r. Now this is an s. So you have r squared. You also have an s squared. So the second one gets an s. So because there is, usually you don't find any letter with the last term. In this case, you also have an r squared and an s squared. So the first one gets an r. The second one gets an s. So my factors are going to look like 3r minus 4s, which I'm getting it from here, and 3r minus 4s, which I'm getting it from here, and you also have a 5 staying outside. So do not forget the 5. The 5 is part of the answer, so 5 also needs to come down. So once you realize this, now I have the last step, which is 5, and you got 3r minus 4s repeating the same thing twice, so I'm just going to put the exponent too. So recognizing the answer from your answer choices is most important. Most of the students will come till this step, but they won't recognize the answer. The only thing is 3r minus 4s appears once, twice, so the exponent is 2.